Okay, so looking at the readings that we did in and out of class, so I'm going to start with the social contract, chapter 2 of the state of nature. So what they're arguing in that chapter, in that book specifically, is that men live in a state of nature. Go figure. Because they live in the state of nature, they live very equally, and they don't live like uniformly. They don't have a government to control them. They don't have laws to live by. It's very rough, but it's also equal, if that makes sense. So one thing about this state of nature and living in it is that if a man is wronged, the man who was wronged gets to deal with the perpetrator however they want. Not really however they want, but like in an equal sense. So very much like an eye for an eye kind of thing. The reason I say that is because in caps, they put, quote, "Every man hath the right to punish the offender and be executioner of the law of nature," unquote. And also, quote, "Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed," unquote, which that is a bar. That is like such a good little quote if you're barbaric like that. But so they're just basically arguing that in the state of nature, men are equal and they're punished how the victim sees fit. Very much eye for an eye kind of thing. In chapter 8 of the beginning of political societies, what they're saying is that men get tired of living in a society. Like, they don't want to be sticks and fire. They want like flying cars and vaccines. So what they do in order to enter the society is that one divests himself of his natural liberty, agree with other men to join and unite into a community, living amongst one another in a secure enjoyment of their properties and a greater security against any that are not of it, unquote. So in this, they're basically just saying that in order to live in the society, you give up some of your freedoms. You have to live like with the majority. You have to live kind of under government, kind of under law. Like, you can't be all roughing it out there. You have to live like a normal human. And in order to live like a normal human, you have to abide by basically the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. Basically just kind of saying that like anyone who doesn't live by this like standard in their society gives up their right to be in it. So yeah, pretty much what they're saying. I don't have any questions about it. This makes sense for people at the time to think this way, which yeah, I agree with it. One thing I think they get right is the whole golden rule in a society thing. If you're not behaving like a decent human being, like, I personally think that like if we take modern day as a society, like they say in this thing, I think people who are like mass murderers, terrorists, mass rapists, like, get them out of the society. We don't need them here. Send them to Africa, let them get eaten by lions. Like, we don't want them here. One thing I do think they get wrong though is in a state of nature, punishing people like eye for an eye kind of thing, simply because like it's never going to be uniform. It's never going to be apt for the punishment because grudges get in the way. Personally, like when someone's wronged, they're not going to really be thinking about like giving them equal measurement. They want the person who did them wrong to like suffer. So I think that's one thing that they get wrong, is that kind of way of thinking, because it can kind of lead to like corruption or just like overdoing it. Next up, Declaration of Independence. What they're saying in the Declaration of Independence basically is that basically saying that like if people are being mistreated by their government, they as a people have a right to overthrow it or leave and not be a part of it, basically, because they're living through that. Whenever they're writing this, they are living through it. And so one quote of it that I thought was really cool was, quote, "Mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed." And so what they're basically saying right there is that whenever it's normalized to like suffer through something bad, or like you're used to living through it, a lot more people are going to be fine with just like pushing through it than being like, hey, this sucks, we shouldn't be living like this, like let's do something about it. So they were built different back then because they did something about it. In the rest of the Declaration, they kind of call out King George, which is like, some of this stuff is like kind of funny. Like, for example, he has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. Like, that is so petty of him. You're a whole king of a country and you're freaking doing this to your like ambassadors. Like, you're so weird. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. Like, these are your people. I mean, not anymore, but they were your people and you're waging war against them. Like, grow up. Another really cool quote from this was, quote, "We must therefore acquiesce," I don't know that word, "in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends." Like, that is such a freaking bar. Like, shout out to the founding fathers. They really went off with that. No questions about the Declaration of Independence. Nothing they got wrong either. They were pretty apt about it, and I made pretty clear what I think they got right. Overthrow your governments if they're mistreating you. Yeah, basically what that is. Moving on to the Federalist Papers. It was a hard read. The Federalist Papers, man, it was just nothing but yapping. They just wanted to talk and talk and talk. But looking at paper 10, they're basically saying that in a faction, we'll just call it a society. So in a society, people are sometimes accustomed to violence. And so one thing they really said was, quote, "The friend of popular governments never finds himself so much alarmed for their character and fate as when he contemplates their propensity to this dangerous vice." Basically saying that, like, people in power don't care about violence until it personally affects them. So everyone else can be subjects to violence. They don't care because it doesn't affect them, which pretty apt for nowadays. And so they're saying there's two methods of curing the mischief of faction, one by removing its causes, the other by controlling its effects. And so it kind of just talks about the different ways to, like, remove this thing, both causes and the effects. I don't think I have any questions about this. It's pretty straightforward. I do think they get right the whole thing about government doesn't care until it affects them. Pretty applicable to nowadays. Don't think they really got anything wrong either. But number 51, that one was pretty good. So that one just talks a lot about checks and balance, and basically saying, this quote I thought was really good. "The great difficulty is that you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place oblige it to control itself," unquote. The first thing I thought of with that was absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so that's kind of like the whole theme of this, is basically saying that, like, if you have this government or this society, you have to break up the powers in it because people are easily corrupted. Like, that's just fact, unfortunately. And so in order for a government to control their people, they have to control themselves first. And so they talk a bit about it, like, also saying that the powerful will always oppress the minority. Like, that's pretty apt. I don't think I have any questions about number 51 either. Checks and balance, very straightforward. I do think they get right in saying that quote, "But what is government itself but the greatest of all reflections on human nature?" Like, that is also unfortunately a bar. So I think that's something they definitely get right. And also just kind of saying, like, how to really, like, cut up these different branches of power so that way they don't corrupt themselves and their people. Let's see, what else? I don't really think they get anything wrong in that either. Like, that's all it's pretty apt. It's pretty applicable to government back then and government nowadays. So yeah, that's all I have.